Okay, Woodward friends, before we can make our clay animals, we have to turn our blob of clay into a ball. So first, I'm going to take the squishy part of my hand and I'm going to hit it a couple of times to round out the corners. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I can flip it and I can hit them over here, and it's going to start turning into a ball. Once you've got the corners smushed in, you can remember how to drive that train. We're going to put our hands side by side. We're going to move one up and forward, and we're going to now we're going to do that with our clay in our hands. It's going to be kind of hard, but you're going to try your best, and we're going to drive that train until it becomes a ball. And sometimes it gets a little lopsided, and that's okay. It won't have to be perfect. When I think my ball is okay, I'm going to set it down and I'm going to leave it right where it is. Okay, Woodward friends, before we can make our clay animals, we have to turn our blob of clay into a ball. So first, I'm going to take the squishy part of my hand and I'm going to hit it a couple of times to round out the corners. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and I can flip it and I can hit them over here, and it's going to start turning into a ball. Once you've got the corners smushed in, you can remember how to drive that train. We're going to put our hands side by side. We're going to move one up and forward, and we're going to now we're going to do that with our clay in our hands. It's going to be kind of hard, but you're going to try your best, and we're going to drive that train until it becomes a ball. And sometimes it gets a little lopsided, and that's okay. It won't have to be perfect. When I think my ball is okay, I'm going to set it down and I'm going to leave it right where it is. Next, I have to take my hand and try to squish the clay. So I'm going to use just this part of my hand. I'm not going to use my fingers because I don't want to put holes in the clay. I'm just going to use the flat part, and I'm going to put it on my ball and I'm going to push, and then I'm going to take my hand away. I want to flip the clay over and squish. And I know that my hands are bigger than yours, and that's okay, because sometimes we're going to squish a couple times. Squish one here, squish one here. You might have to do a couple, but we're going to try to keep it even, only using the flat part of our hand. Our paper towel is going to get a little wet, but that's okay. We still want to leave it on the paper towel so we keep our table clean and the clay doesn't stick. I'm going to keep squishing until my clay is about as thick as a cookie. So right now, it looks like a pretty good cookie size. You don't want it to get too skinny or your animal is going to break apart. So after it's a cookie, you're going to take a cookie cutter. And this one's just a circle. And you're going to push it down, lift it up, and you might have to pull the extra clay off. We're not going to play with it. We're just going to set it on the corner of our towel and leave it alone. I'm going to take my thumb and very lightly get my circle out of the cookie cutter. Then I can share my cookie cutter with my neighbors. I only have 5, so 2 tables are going to have to share one of the cookie cutters. Once you have your cookie cut out, don't play with it until you see the next steps. So kindergartners, for your butterfly, you're going to take your circle and you're going to use a knife. Oh wait, this isn't a knife, it's a popsicle stick. So we know it's not sharp, but clay is so squishy that the popsicle stick is sharp enough to cut it. And we are just going to cut the clay in half right down the middle. Then we're going to take the 2 halves and turn them so that they touch. I don't want to squish them all the way together. I just want them touching, and the flat parts are going to go to the outside. That's going to be your butterfly wings, and then we're going to make the body. So we're going to use the extra scrap to make your body. I'm just going to take a chunk. Don't want it to be too small, don't want it to be too big. And I can squish it for just a second, not too much because it'll dry out. And then instead of driving the train, I'm just going to push my hands back and forth, and that's going to turn the clay almost into like a snake or a worm. I don't want it to be a really, really skinny one, but I don't want it to be super fat or super long either. So mine's just about as wide as my hand, and I'm going to use that to be my butterfly body. But right now it can't stick because it's two smooth surfaces. So if you remember what it's like playing with Legos, where you take the bumpy surface and the surface with the holes in them and you stick them together, that helps them stick. So we have to create bumpies on here. So we're going to use our popsicle stick knife, and right where the two circles meet, I'm going to scratch it up. Okay, just a little bit. I don't want to go too far, and I don't want to go super deep. So I don't want to cut into my clay like that. I just want to make scruffy marks on there. But I also have to do that to my butterfly body. So I'm going to scratch just one side of my butterfly body. You can go one direction or you can go two directions. But they still can't quite stick together. We need special glue. We're not going to be using the glue that's in our buckets at our tables. Our glue is actually just going to be a little tiny bit of water. So I'm going to take one finger, not my whole hand, just one finger. I'm going to touch the water one time and then touch my butterfly's wings. Then I can take my butterfly body with the scratches down, and I can stick the scratches together, and then I'm going to take my thumb and push, push, push. You want to push a little bit hard because otherwise they won't stick together. Okay. So right now I have my butterfly's body and my wings, and they're attached, but my butterfly can't see. So we're going to take another little piece of our scrap, and I might actually rip that in half instead of getting another one, and we can just roll them right around, roll them right around, and we're going to make little eyes for our butterfly. But again, they won't stick because those surfaces are too smooth. So I'm going to put some little scratch marks up by the butterfly's head, maybe a couple on the eyeball, just poke, poke. And then remember, one finger, one touch to the water, and I can put it right on my butterfly's head, and I stick the scratches together, and then I can push on them a little bit just to make sure they're good and stuck. Now my butterfly can see. Normally butterflies have little antennae, but if we try to attach them, they're going to break off because they're going to be too tiny. So maybe when we're older we can do something with little things, but this time we're just going to pretend they're there and not actually put them on. But now remember how beautiful butterfly wings are. So we're going to try to add really fun designs to our butterfly. So there's going to be a few different rubber stampers, and you can pick the one that I put at your table. All the tables will have a different one. You're going to take the bumpy side and you're going to set it on the wings, and you're just going to very, very lightly push on the stamper, and then you can peel it up. If you push too hard on your stamper, it's going to stick to the clay and it will come off on here and it won't look pretty on your butterfly. So then I can push, push, push on the other wing and peel it off, and there's a really fun texture for your butterfly wings. Later we're going to color them, but first I have to put them in a really big machine, and I'm going to show you that machine in just a moment. When you're almost done or all the way done, Miss Jamison, our guest teacher today, is going to come around and she's going to write your name on a paper towel. But see, pencil's going to rip through our paper towel. So we're actually going to use a mark, and I want you to let the teachers write your name so that Miss Adams is sure to be able to read the name and write it on the clay later. So Miss H, or Mrs. Raymond, or Miss Jameson, or even Mrs. Robinson, if she's in there, can write your name. But please let a grown-up do it with the marker. When everybody's all done, we're going to make sure that all of the tools get stacked up nicely and put in one spot on the counter. They're going to get taken away. Maybe your classmates will be helping with this. And then a grown-up is going to come and spray water with a spray bottle onto the table. One person at your table that the teacher will decide is going to take a rag from over by the girls' side of the sink, by the pink basket, and they're going to move the water around to wash the table. And someone else at the table is going to get a paper towel from next to the sink, and they're going to dry the table. The paper towel then can go in the garbage can by the sink, and the rag can go back where it came from by the pink basket. After they're all dry, I'm going to take them to John Muir, to the kiln room. And a kiln is a very giant machine that we use to bake the clay. And right now it's actually cooking some of our other kindergarten friends projects. And it's already at 550 degrees. That's about how hot your kitchen oven gets. But I have to cook these to almost 2,000 degrees. And when we're all done, the clay is going to change from that sticky mud, and it's going to change into white glass, and it's going to be hard. It's pretty cool.